when I found this list, it was actually like a wake up call for me. I feel like, and it made me realize that I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect, and not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes explaining to 10-year-old Devin what he's accomplished and how cool his life is actually helps me reframe and stop me from viewing myself as such a failure, because I do a lot. I That's almost my default wiring in my head, and it's something that I've worked on continuously over the past couple of years, and probably always will. And I've gotten better at it, absolutely, but it's something that I am wired to do, is view myself negatively. So when I to set the stage, I was talking about the move, right? I just recently moved across the country from Arizona to New Hampshire. And when I was first talking about it with a mentor of mine, he asked me, it was about 12 weeks out from the move, and I was saying how I'm just waiting to move. My life was not bad at all, but I was going through a couple things. I went through a bad breakup last year that led to me questioning a lot of my worth and what it put me in a dark place. And that's essentially what led to me deciding to move and kind of go all in on wrestling and pursue better opportunities out here. And when I was telling my mentor this, he was saying, well, yeah, great, you can write it out and just make it through to when you get there, or what do you want to do while you're still here? And just that reframe of, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be in Arizona anymore. What else do I have to do? And then, not only that, that triggered me remembering that I wrote this list when I was 10 years old. My mom actually saved it. She has this note right here. Found in Devin's closet, had to copy it. So this is a photocopied list of things that I wanted to do before I died from 10-year-old Devin's perspective. And it's really cool. And we'll get to this in a second. It's written in red pen for some reason. I was really into red. I actually, funny side note, when I was younger, junior high age, I had a steno notebook, like one of the notebooks that's split into two columns, and I would book Fantasy, Raw, and SmackDown. I would have rosters, and I would do red for Raw, blue for SmackDown. And I would have my own storylines and what I was building to, cards each week, and how the finishes would happen, and what the stories and, story notes and things. And I remember specifically getting things done early in class and working on that. And one time I was even called out for it. Like, one of my buddies took it. I don't know if he was a buddy, but one of my classmates took it and made fun of me in front of the whole class. And he's like, "Oh, this is so lame. Like, what is this?" And then my teacher was like, "Is there anything more important you can do than this?" And I was like, "I don't know what you want from me. I did all of my work." And that same teacher, actually, we had a final paper that year. I wrote about wrestling and the Monday Night War and the ratings and the business practices and how they went after each other and so on and so forth. And she was telling me, she held me back after class one day and she goes, "I just want you to know that I was dreading reading your paper because I knew what it was about and I have no interest in wrestling. Yet it was the most interesting one I read." And that was such a compliment because, first, I don't take offense to people who are like, "I hate wrestling." It's not for everyone. Nor do I judge other people's interests, right? Because I don't like them doing that to me. And her admitting that she dreaded it actually was like a point of pride, because it was like, oh, I made wrestling cool to somebody who hated it. Not hate, but just was so indifferent to it. And that was like a little note that just shows how much I liked wrestling when I was younger. Anyways, so when Max, my mentor, asked me about that, it helped me reframe, and I was like, oh, well, why would I worry about, just killing time when I have an actual list here of things that 10-year-old Devin wanted to do. And I always say that I'm doing this for 10-year-old Devin, right? I'm wrestling, I'm putting in the work and grinding because that version of me would want that. But it was when I found this list that I started really thinking about that. It's like, why is that so important to me? And it's because, in my opinion, 10 to 12 years old is like the purest outlook on life. Because hopefully, and I know people's situations are different, but hopefully you don't have trauma and stress and responsibilities and accountability and peer pressure involved in your life yet. And I know for some people that's not the case. And my empathy, I empathize with that. However, ideally, you don't have those things yet. So it's pure imagination and optimism for what life can be. And that's why I think that although it's not realistic, it helps bring a dimension of positivity to your outlook on life. And that's why I wanted to start this whole concept of accomplishing the things that little Dev, wanted, documenting them, and then telling that version of me what it was like. Because I think that's so cool, and it helps you appreciate life for what it is. Because at the end of the day, there are responsibilities, and there are things that have to happen, and work that has to be done. But then we die. And no money comes with you, your memories fade, and the only thing you're left with, or the only thing left of you, is how people remember you. And I would rather them remember me for giving them a positive experience or contributing a more positive perspective to their life. So that's why I wanted to do this. And how that starts is what 10-year-old Devin's life looked like, right? So my parents divorced when I was very young, and my mom went on to have 3 kids relatively soon after, because Mercy, my second, the sibling closest in age, is 4 years younger than me. 4 to 5 years younger than me. Sorry. So I always say I'm one of a kind. My dad and my mom only had me, and they split when I was really young. I have 2 memories of them together. That's it. And I never felt bad for it. I don't know. I think because I was so young and they did such a good job managing it, I never viewed myself as like suffering from divorce. In fact, I always thought that's just how life was. And so when people, or when other kids explain that, they only had one parents or one set of parents or one family, I was like, oh, interesting. And I had to explain divorce, but to them, it was this out-of-the-world idea. And to me, I was just like, I don't understand what's so complicated. And so I was never really negatively affected by it. I, just as long as I could remember, was going between the 2 houses. And they both loving homes. I'm very blessed. And I view it as like, it just helped my family get bigger. So my dad met my stepmom, Donna, probably a decade later or so, because I met her when I was 12. And then they went on to have three boys who are getting up there now, 14, 15, 12, and 10, around there. And so I have, almost half my age, or more than half my age, brothers, and then I also have some siblings that are closer. But regardless, I don't know why I went on that tangent. It's just explaining the dynamic and how even from a young age, it's funny how from a young age I was positively wired. And I didn't see divorce as a bad thing. I thought like, oh, I just have, more friends or more siblings and different families, what have you. And 10-year-old Devin was only concerned about being an NFL player and a pro wrestler. Those are the only 2 things. And I remember specifically one day I was talking to my dad about it. And I was like, oh, wait. We were in the car. And I remember thinking, so, Dad, I have a question. If I'm on Raw or SmackDown, right? And I'm also in the NFL, because why not? And they have a game on Sunday, but there's also a pay-per-view. Which one am I supposed to do? And he was like, you do the NFL game. And I went, Dad, but hang on. I understand missing like Monday Night Raw, right? Because it's every week. But a pay-per-view is kind of a big deal. I would have to do the pay-per-view because it's a special, unique show, maybe a championship match. And he was like, no, you do the NFL game. And as a kid, I was like, okay, but I'm going to have that talk for when I'm on the Patriots and signed to WWE in the future. And then, later on in my life, I decided I'm going all in on wrestling. Actually, sorry, the inverse, I'm going all in on football. Because I went to a Catholic school and I was, put this nicely, talked out of pro wrestling because it was not the most Christian-like thing or Catholic-like thing. And I remember, this isn't funny, but the end, you'll see why I'm chuckling. So when Eddie Guerrero passed, right, it was the first celebrity death that I think affected me. And I just remember how beloved he was and how everybody was talking about him and how much he loved God and lived, and his whole redemption story, all the things. And as a kid, I remember asking my mom, I was watching the tribute episode, and I left my room and I went to my mom and I said, hey, Mom, everybody keeps talking about Eddie and how he's looking down from heaven. I go, is it possible to be a pro wrestler and still go to heaven? Because Eddie was known for lying, cheating, and stealing, which you can't do and get to heaven, right? And I remember being so confused. I very much thought wrestling was real until I was 12 or 13. And she was like, what are you talking? Yeah, of course you can still go to heaven. And I went, well, game over. I'm wrestling. And from that moment on, I decided I was going to be a pro wrestler. So that's how dead set I was as a kid on it. And around that time too, I got in I became infatuated with the idea of accomplishing things before you die. I don't know. I think it's just because I realized from a very young age I had like existential crises about mortality, and it helped me develop maybe that's why I'm driven or ambitious, and it's because I want to accomplish all these things before I leave the planet, right? And so that led to the making of the list. So, to recap, I wanted to be a pro wrestler since I was as young as I can remember, was slightly talked out of it by the Catholic Church. And then when I found out, oh, you can be quote-unquote the worst of the worst and lie, cheat, and steal and be known for that and still go to heaven. So I'm not too worried about about it. And that's when I was dead set on becoming a wrestler. On top of being a wrestler, I had this list of things I wanted to do. So I would like to go ahead and read the list. And then kind of what I want to do with the series, right, is document, vlog, me accomplishing certain things. And I recently put out the Dear Dev, You're a Wrestler Now, Sincerely Devin, as a pilot just to explain the concept. And I wrote a letter to 10-year-old Devin explaining everything that it took to become a wrestler. And it got really emotional because it was an emotional journey, right? I quit at one point. I had a 4-year gap where nothing was going on in my life. I was in a very dark place. And I learned that my brain was wired negatively when I was diagnosed with, chronic depression and anxiety and all these things. So that video talks about everything it took to become a wrestler and how proud I am to have done it. Well, I'm going to do videos like that, except I'm actually, like, for example, this weekend, I will be traveling to SoCal tomorrow, actually, Friday, to wrestle a match. Then we're driving to Phoenix to wrestle another match. Then I'm flying back to wrestle in Rhode Island on Monday. Very, very exciting coast-to-coast travel weekend. And I'm going to document that and then write a letter to younger Devin about how the experience was. Because on here you'll see travel to wrestle out of state is on the list. And then in that, I'm also going to be having guests on, and I've already recorded 2 episodes, and I have them write to their 10-year-old self, explain one thing in their life that they've accomplished and what that means to them, and tell their younger self how their life is. And that's going to be the premise of this podcast and this like content docu-series, I guess you can call it. I don't know. But I think it's a really cool idea that I want to explore, because even talking with Zamaya and Lincoln, my 2 guests, it's cool to hear. They were like, oh, I've never thought about that. I've never physically told 10-year-old me how my life has been, and it gives them a unique perspective on how to view it, and generally a more positive one, which I think is really cool and a good message that I want to help spread. So without further ado, let's talk about this list. Let's just get into it. Complete a full marathon. Why? Why would you do that to me? Now I have to run. Learn American Sign Language. That's interesting. Learn an instrument. Go to Ireland. Go to skydiving. Climb a tall mountain. What does that mean? What is tall? I've gone hiking. What is tall to 10-year-old Devin? Do I cross that out already? I've climbed some tall mountains. Do I have to go on Everest? I don't understand. But we'll figure that one out. Experience zero gravity. Swim with dolphins, which is crossed out because I did. We had like a little dolphin encounter when I was younger. Go whale watching. That's crossed out, but I'm going to uncross that out because I want to go again as an adult and record that. Adopt my own pet from an animal shelter. Volunteer at an animal shelter. Visit the Northern Lights. Visit the Pyramids of Giza. Visit the Eiffel Tower. Visit New York. That's crossed out. See the Statue of Liberty. That's crossed out. Empire State Building, Times Square. That's all crossed out. Normally I would be like, oh, I'll document that. I don't want to go back to New York. I'm okay. So just take my word for it. I've been there. Wasn't my favorite. Go to the White House. I've been there. 8th grade field trip. A lot of fun. I have no interest in going back. See Mount Rushmore, I guess. Visit the Four Corners. I've done that. That was fun. I'd go back to that. Mostly because my family lives about an hour and a half from there. Or I have some family that lives about an hour and a half. Go to Disney World. I can cross that out, but my experience wasn't the best. So I'm going to leave that uncrossed and then go back to have a good experience. Visit all 50 states. I wonder where I'm at now. I'd be curious. Drive across the country. Did that. Documented on my Instagram. That's why I'm here. Or that's how I got out here. Go on an African safari. Sounds awesome. Zip line. Crossed out. I have zip line. Make spaghetti tacos. Dev, what are we doing? What does that mean? Does that mean, like, I guess taco shell, spaghetti inside? But then do I add, like, lettuce and tomato? Is the pasta somehow lasagnified and made into the shell? I don't understand, but we will do that, I guess. I have an excuse now. I am on a cut, and I am working with a coach who tells me exactly what to eat. And spaghetti tacos, not part of the regimen, so that'll have to wait. Own a pair of Beats. I guess I can cross that. Why is that on there? So capitalistic and materialistic of young Devin. But I do have them. They're on my head right now, so that's cool. I guess I can cross that out. I wonder why that's like the material thing I wanted. That's very curious. I'm curious about that. Let's see. Where was I? Go to the Grand Canyon. Jesus. Go to the Grand Canyon. I've been there. That was cool. Oof. Get married. Not yet, Dev. Sorry. We're actually behind on that. But not really. I don't believe in like timelines for that kind of stuff, and I stopped believing in timelines altogether in terms of life goals. So it happens when it happens. Get my first job. Did that. Worked at Harkins. That's touched on in the pilot episode. Get a wrestler's autograph. Meet Kurt Angle. Meet Chris Jericho. Meet The Rock. I've met Kurt Angle. I've met Chris Jericho. I have not met The Rock. Those are my big three. Sit ringside at a wrestling event. Done that. Decorate my own house for Christmas. Awesome. Go to Las Vegas. Been there a lot. Wrestled there a lot. So that's crossed out. Oh, this is cute. Go on a full-on date. Well, you've done that, so good job. Complete a 5K. What is it with this kid and running? I've done that. A 10K, a half marathon. So if I do a full marathon, I'm going to cross out all those other ones because that encompasses all of those. Get my driver's license. Done that. First car. Done that. Have a family. I do have a family, but I don't have like kids and a wife. I don't have a nuclear family, I guess. I am very much a single bachelor. So I'll leave that uncrossed. Finished wrestling school. Done that. Good job. Travel out of state for a wrestling show. I have done that, but I will be documenting it this weekend. Go to a midnight showing for a movie. I've done that. I actually went to a 2 a.m. showing of Avengers Endgame. It was a lot of fun. Own a house. We'll work on that. Finish high school. Oof. Finish college. Sorry, Dev. You're a dropout. Maybe one day. But tune in to, or go watch the first episode of Dear Dev, Sincerely Devin. You're a wrestler now. That is, goes into detail about my college journey. Attend an NFL game. I've done that. Went to the Cardinals. Attend a wrestling pay-per-view. I've done that. Attend a WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Done those two. Survivor Series and SummerSlam. I don't have the need to go to those anymore. I want to wrestle on them, so we'll leave that for when I wrestle there. Get a meaningful tattoo. I have no tattoos, but that will be hopefully sometime next year. I can cross that out. Travel overseas. I have not done that yet. Move out. Done that. Be on TV. Done that, I guess. Spend an entire day watching wrestling. I have done that. That's called depression. Half joking. Let's see, what else? Experience Christmas as a parent. Cool. Find the love of my life. Wow, look at this. Young Dev. Very romantic. Pass on the name Michael. That's cute. Create a family. Oh, wow, we're getting into... These are all far off. Create a family Christmas tradition. Meet my grandchildren. Create a man cave. So to me, I can't create a man cave until I have a family. Because to me, the point of a man cave is to kind of have like, that's the room that Dad designed. And I, you know what? Hot take. I don't like the idea of my man cave is somewhere where no one can bother me. Why? I believe a man cave is something that I just designed, and it's like, oh yeah, that's where Devin put all of his, or that's where Dad put all of his stuff that Mom won't let him have around the house. Because it's, I don't know, not decorative or what have you. So to me, a man cave is a room that I designed. I have a family, and I, as the dad, husband, designed. But it's not like, don't go in there. I would want my family to go in there. And it's not an escape from them, because they're the escape for me, right? I view that as like my family is my escape from my life and responsibilities. And although they are a part of my responsibilities, I don't know. That's how I view it. They should also be my escape. Why do I need a room to escape my family? And I get it. I don't have kids, so that's easy for me to say. But that's my definition of a man cave. So, it'll be a while before I cross that out. Plant a tree in my own yard. That's cool. Own a sports bar. Dev, what are we doing? We're not doing that. I have no interest in running a bar or a restaurant. Write a book. Okay, we can do that. Audition for a movie. Interesting. Go to Madison Square Garden. I'd like to wrestle there. Learn how to cook. What does that mean? I guess I did that. I cook. I'm not like a chef, but I make some good food. Okay, I have learned how to cook. Get a henna tattoo. I did do that. It was a tiger right on my chest. Not long after I made this list, actually, at 10 years old. Shave my head in honor of cancer fighters and victims, and donate the hair. I wish I found this list before male pattern baldness got me. That's not possible. But eventually I'll be able to hopefully like do Make-A-Wish and host events that'll fundraise for that. So although not that they would want my hair because I had bad hair, but I will be playing my part when I have the ability to. And I've already we've done like charity shows and stuff like that, but I would like to be a bigger part of that. Journal every day for a whole year. That's interesting. I can do that. I can start that today. Go grocery shopping. Buy myself for myself. Well, kid, you did good. You do that every week. Ride in a hot air balloon. Interesting. Oh, that's the last one. What a climactic finish. All right. So that's a list of things I wanted to do when I was 10 years old. Obviously, I'm going to be adding to those and accomplishing things that I think I may not have written down, but I wanted to do. And then writing letters to 10-year-old Devin to explain not only what it took, but how I feel after doing it, and then also what the experience was like, just in general. So, this, I don't know. I don't know what to call this. I don't know if this is a passion project, a business. I don't know what to call this. It ultimately is a passion project, right? Because I think that by doing this, I can accomplish my goal of spreading positivity through wrestling and being remembered for positively impacting people. Because whether I'm right or wrong, I believe that viewing your life through how 10-year-old you would see it will give you the ultimate perspective. Because, as I mentioned before, that's the purest outlook on life, in my opinion, for the majority of people. And that is what I strive for, because I ultimately think that'll lead me to be the happiest. And as someone who struggles with being happy, I need all the reminders I can to stay the course and have a positive outlook. And what better way to do that than to document it and talk to others and try to share that perspective that way, in terms of like just the 2 episodes I did that'll be dropping after this with Zamaya and Lincoln. I gained a whole new perspective on who they are as people, and they're 2 of my best friends, so not only am I going to have maybe a better bond with my friends or get to know people, maybe this expands to people I don't even know, and I want to get them on the show and talk to them. And I just think it's a really cool idea, and I'm excited to explore it and see what comes of it. So that's going to be what this is. That's going to be what my goals are for it. And thank you for listening. If you did listen this far to the first episode, I'm really excited. The second episode, the first guest, Lincoln, will be out next week. And then Zamaya will be the week after that. and stay tuned. I'm not going to have a regular schedule for the videos. The podcast will be weekly. I'll drop it on Wednesdays. But the videos are going to be done when they're done. I'm not going to shoehorn experiences in for content because that defeats the whole purpose. I am not a business money motivated person. I am very emotional and motivated by the art of things and the, I guess, recognition for that. That's how I view wrestling. I view it as an art. And so just like I'm not going to force anything in a wrestling match just to do it unless I feel it, same goes for the videos. I'm not going to force an experience just to hit a number in my head. I'm just going to live and document because it's a passion project. I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because 10-year-old Devin would want me to. And I'm doing this because I truly believe if I do it right, I can accomplish my mission of helping people and lead a more positive direction for those who want to subscribe to it. So that's going to be the mission. That's going to be the idea of this podcast and this docu-series or vlogs, what have you, whatever they drop. And I'm really excited to get started. So I will see you guys next week. Comment, like, share, do all the things, please, to help me realize this and reach as many people as I can, because I do think it can be something special. And I appreciate all of you for listening. I will see you next time. Thank you so much, and have a great day.